Now you're going to be up in the spring.
Oh, or next year.
Oh, they do?
The calendar is really tight. There's a lady, her name is Rachel Copella, and Rachel runs something called NWA Network. Okay. And you want to get out there. There's so much that I was presenting to now. But there's something going on every day of the week except for business. There's always. Yeah, you don't want to move. So there's probably your best bet is probably Tuesday. Rogers has something on the second Tuesday.
That's actually one question.
Look at NWA Network and then try to find this. That's a dream.
Thanks, Tim. I'd like to call the committee of the whole meeting, November the 7th, 2023 to order, please. Roll call.
Daniel.
Here.
Larry.
Here.
Tim.
Here.
Misty. Here. Mike.
Here.
Amber. Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, I seek approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Mike.
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
Larry.
Yes.
Amber. Yes. Daniel.
Yes.
Misty. Yes.
Next, I would like approval of our October 3rd, 2023 minutes, and I understand that there was a name that was wrong on one of the things, but other than that, I think it was okay.
Where was that?
It was, let's see.
It said Amanda Guerrero instead of Miranda.
Oh, okay. I'll just get that changed.
With that change in mind, I'll make a motion to approve.
See?
I'll second that.
Roll call?
Daniel.
Yes.
Larry.
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
Misty. Yes. Mike.
Yes.
Amber. Yes.
Next, I will entertain comments from the citizens on anything not on our agenda tonight. We have one.
Rhonda Dowdna, 462 Posa Lane. I want to thank every one of you, Billy Ray Cyrus over here, and my pink ladies, and Shania Twain. And you just said you were a young guy in the 50s. I didn't recognize you. You guys did great at Halloween. You looked awesome. I appreciate each and every one of you. Oh, I'm telling you, you're laughing still. So anyway, I did. And I came into the booth twice and took pictures of him. And then after the picture said, well, where's Larry? And everybody's looking at me like, you're nuts. And I said, no, seriously, he's been here all day. He's right next to you. I did not recognize you. You look great. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Now, is that what you're saying?
No, you look,
Need to keep
even
it
when you
black.
talked, I still did not recognize you. That's sad. That's sad. That was a good costume. But anyway, thank you to everybody who put in, police department, the fire department, everybody, the street and park, every employee jumped in on this and I so appreciate it. It took a village. We had over 50 businesses this year participate in raffles, donating candy or sponsoring a bitch or throwing money towards trophies and stuff. You have no idea how much came in this year. It was really great. These girls right here, Misty, Amber, and the mayor here really rocked it on every direction that I sent you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It made it so much easier for me. So I just wanted to reach out to everybody. Said this is, and the spook, ghost man. I didn't think he went to the event either. And I took a picture of him. He was a ghost, a sheet with, sunglasses. Didn't recognize you either. So, and he said, you talked to me.
That's not bad.
So I had fun this year. It was
You guys didn't feel a cool chill as I walked by?
yeah, no, he spooked us. He did. So again, thank you. I just wanted to say thank you, thank you, thank you. We appreciate it. I want to add a little bit, maybe something different this next year. If you guys can think of something that we can add to spice it up some, I greatly appreciate it. I'm coming on for the next year. So achy breaky heart, I expect you to sing it at the end of the night here. Okay. All right. Well, you did good. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Seeing none, we will go on to old business. Seeing as that we have no old business, we'll go to new business. Discussion of an ordinance amending its entirety, ordinance number 38 of the city of Tontitown, and setting forth that Ozark Electric Cooperative or its successors, the right, privilege, and franchise to construct, maintain, yada, yada, yada. And our mayor will present this.
Won't say yada, yada, yada. As you know, Pat, Mark, Justin, and I have been working. My 3 minutes is up.
That's it.
Let me start over. As you know, Pat, Mark, Justin, and I have been working on getting our franchise fees updated. Currently, the franchise fees for Ozark Electric Cooperative is at 2% and was last updated on October 2nd, 1962. This ordinance will allow our city to update the franchise fees to a 4.25%, more than double what we currently receive, which is in line with the surrounding cities that are around us and what they are receiving. For the year 2021, we received $136,750.34 from Ozark Electric in franchise fees. Yes, $136,750.34. For the year 2022, we received $160,054.46 in franchise fees. That is at a rate of 2%. If this passes the council, the franchise fees will more than double the income to the city. Mr. Latham, would you like to elaborate on this? Is there anything that you would like to say or elaborate on what I've already said?
Just to the fact that, as you know, franchise fees basically is that they're these entities, Ozark Electric, along with Black Hills, which, by the way, that contract's over 20 years old, still under the old Arkansas Western Gas Company. But you know, this one actually provides uniformity, which is something that the attorney wanted to do, that everything is exactly the same, number one. Number two is that it provides direction to each one of these entities on how they're actually going to be utilizing our right-of-way. This is basically a rent for our right-of-way along with any easements that we own. If not, they would have to go out, purchase it. This is actually basically paying rent for it. The other thing is that it talks a little bit about how they're supposed to restore once they're in the right-of-way, along with the rental cost, as the mayor just suggested. So it's a solid, both of these are very solid. It addresses our major concerns that we've had, especially specifically on how much cost is going up right now. If we have to buy land or right-of-way, And I will tell you, James and I talk about the fact we used to be able to get easements. People would give you easements because they knew you were going to be able to get a service to them. Today, you don't. They want money for it. And it's expensive. As you know, land is expensive. So I think these are two really good agreements, and I wholeheartedly ask that you support them. Anybody has any questions?
Wait, do we have a citizen's comment? Okay.
Just one. Assuming that these do pass, and I don't see why they wouldn't, Ozark Electric and any other person who's charged a franchise fee, that's a utility customer or provider, if they wanted to pass these increases on to their consumers, which is typically what happens when businesses are hit with tax increases, I assume they have to go before the Arkansas Public Service Commission to get that approved.
No, I really don't know that. Mike. I don't know that for a fact. But in most cases, especially on both of those sides that you're talking about, the gas and electric typically has to answer to them, yes.
Okay. And then the other question is, we got this list of, there's only two that are coming before us. Are we
Yeah, we're working
drafting
on
other
it.
proposals for the others?
Yeah, right now, you don't have a franchise agreement with Ozark Go.
Right, because they're relatively new.
They're new, but they're said that they would get us they agreed to put one in.
Okay.
There's a lot of changes going on in the telecommunication arena. Back when the Telecommunication Act was approved, you could not charge a franchise fees to internet. It was only on the video side.
You said you couldn't charge a franchise fee
On internet,
on internet.
you could only charge it on video. Of course, phone is already taxed in its own way. There is some legislation right now, I understand, at least this was the conversation we had with Ozark Go, that it's very possible, because now, people are not using true video anymore. They're streaming everything, and so that's really video coming into your home. So they're looking at it. They think there's going to be something passed. So that again could be another, pretty sizable amount that would come in, especially if that happens. The other one is Cox. Cox hasn't been updated either. So that's another one he's working on. I don't
AT&T.
You remember the other?
AT&T.
AT&T.
Yes, sir. And of course,
Those are the five.
voice management's the
Yeah.
fifth one.
So AT&T, we're talking about the landlines that still exist in town?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. Oh, I think that was through Mountain Bell or somebody else, Ozark Bell or whoever that is.
You might have a
Sorry.
Anybody still have a land?
Well, that was the next question, yeah. I do have a question. So once we collect these, and I'm with Mike, I don't see why they wouldn't pass, but once we collect them, are they going to go into general city revenue, or are they going into a separate pile?
They're under the general revenue,
Okay.
correct? Yes.
And then I've got just a nitpick. It's no huge deal at all, but on page 5 of each of these, it says 4.25%, and then the word percent. I don't think we need them both. Again, grammar nerd nitpick. If we could remove one or the other, that would just make my heart happy.
Okay.
Thanks, Mark.
We'll tell the attorney.
Tell the attorney. But he's rolling his eyes somewhere right now.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you, Mark.
All right, well, then I need either a motion or a table.
I will make a motion.
To send this to council?
Can we
I'll-
just
I'll
roll
second.
this in with B? It's essentially is there any difference between this and A and B?
Oh, good lunches, Mike. There's a proper way to do
Can we do that?
Yes, I'll, who made the motion? I'm sorry.
it. Misty did.
Okay,
Are the percentages? Or just talk about.
no, we're gonna vote to move this to council.
Well, I'm sure we'll have proper verbiage by the time we go.
Roll call.
Mike?
Yes.
Who seconded that?
Mike,
Did he? Okay, great. Good job, Mike.
Tim,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes,
Amber,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Misty.
Yes.
send this on to council then. All right, next we have a discussion of an ordinance granting Black Hills Energy Arkansas Incorporated or its successors the right, privilege, and franchise to construct, maintain, and operate a natural gas system and to lay gas mains along, over, and across and under streets, avenues, alleys, roads, highways, and other public ways for the purpose of distributing and selling natural gas. This would be on you, Mayor.
All right. Currently, the franchise fee for Black Hills Energy Arkansas Incorporated is 2% and was last updated on March 5th, 2002. This ordinance will allow our city to update the franchise fees to 4.25%, more than double what we currently receive, which is in line with the surrounding cities that are receiving it. For the year 2021, we received $73,333.97 from Black Hills Energy in franchise fees. For the year 2022, we received $63,773.14 in franchise fees. That is at the 2% rate. If this passes council, franchise fees will more than double the income to the city. Mr. Latham, is there anything that you would like to elaborate on this subject? No? Okay.
Well, I'll make a motion that we push this through.
Whoa.
Oh,
Do
sorry.
any of your fine citizens have anything to say about this?
I'm ready to roll. That's what it is. Let's
Yeah,
go.
okay. All right, next. Council, do we have any questions or discussions?
I have a curiosity. Why did those revenues go down $10,000 year over year? Do we know?
Did gas go down? Does that influence the price? I mean,
I wouldn't have
Quit
expected.
clicking
it to
so
go down.
much.
I do not know.
Okay.
I just know what I've received or that we've received.
Okay.
maybe.
Going once, going twice.
No more questions? Well, I seek a motion.
I already did. I make a motion that we push it through to council.
I'll second.
Daniel second. All right. Roll call?
Daniel,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Misty. Yes. Mike,
Yes.
Amber.
Yes.
Next, we move on to a discussion of a resolution authorizing the mayor to negotiate and execute a professional services agreement with Crafton, Tull, and Associates Incorporated for the 2023 pavement maintenance program in the city of Tontitown, Arkansas. That would be Mr. Latham.
After completion of the comprehensive plan, one of the biggest concerns the citizens had to do with the aging streets infrastructure. And the city back in 2020 completed a first step pavement condition analysis. It basically looked at all the different streets in the community and rated them on whether they're poor, average, or good. And what this would actually do would basically take that information and put it into a plan whereby not only use that analysis they did on the poor street, to the medium streets, to the good streets, and identify what type of surface or improvements need to be made to that specific street. And then each year we'll set aside a certain amount of money from the street department that will actually be put towards, could be one street, it could be two streets, I don't know. But what we need is this really would identify about a 20-year plan that we can get out to the public. But basically when, you know, Mrs. Jones calls and wants to know when my street's going to be fixed, we can tell her. So that's what we would like to do, and that's what this contract does. It's for $24,435.
Okay, so the 24,935 total, which I believe, just to confirm, that includes the reimbursable expenses of $500.
Right.
Okay. That gives us effectively, it helps us with the 20-year plan to identify what order we need to go in.
And what surface we're going to use, because there's different types of ways to repair streets.
But those services can change over the 15 or 20 years as well.
No, we do, one of the things you gotta be concerned about, it's just like you've done South Penalto. What happens is in the heat of the day, a lot of that oil comes up out of that. And then all of a sudden you start seeing those cracks. So they're gonna identify some ways to be able to not only preserve some of those newer streets, but also what are we gonna do to maintain some of these streets that are in poor condition? There's different ways that you can maintain streets besides just doing an overlay that costs a lot of money.
So this isn't just going out and saying, hey, that road's bad. I mean, our cops can do that, right? They're on the roads all the time. But it's not just saying, hey, that road's bad, that road's bad, that road's bad. It's saying, these are the roads, all the roads in town, ranking them.
That's what this 2020 year plan did,
Okay.
yes. I mean,
Cool.
22.
All right, thank you.
One other question.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you sending me the thing. I just haven't had a chance to look at it yet.
Okay,
The
it's pretty
first
large.
step pavement condition analysis. I thank you for doing that. Only one question that I had about the contract is Part D, page under 4.01, where the engineer may subcontract with sub-consultants. Any idea what the sub-consultants are, what they might be used for? I know, and it does give oversight to our city engineer, Zach. And our city engineer, I believe, has to approve the use of these sub-consultants, but honestly, that's a term I've never heard before. But I mean, that's.
I would be
neither here nor there,
glad
but-
to get that information before we actually vote on this for you, what the subs come out, because I really, I'll be honest with you, I don't know what it is.
It may be a nothing burger. It may just be,
Okay.
something that's boilerplate and engineer contracts. I don't see a whole lot of those, but just the fact that we do have some oversight as to whether they put these people to work, because this is a cost above and beyond the $24,000. So, yeah, so that's just something that's, when there's ever stuff in there that says, oh, by the way, this is not part of this cost, we can charge you for this, it always kind of sends up a red
it's a
flag
red
just to
flag.
find out
Okay.
what exactly some issues might be
Okay.
that they can
We can do
have
that.
confronted in the past with this, or if they can provide us with some examples of what that might be, I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, I was excited by 4E, 1 Part E, which says the total, yeah, it's a little e though and a big E. You heard the difference?
I did.
The total compensation for services and reimbursement of expenses shall not exceed 24,935. So I'm like, oh, great, it's not going to exceed that, but apparently it can.
Less, but I would think that if they're going to consider subcontractors on this, they would have to come and tell us and what that cost would be, and then you guys would have to approve it or not approve it.
Has Justin approved this contract yet?
Yep.
Okay. I wonder if you can give it another look with that question in mind.
I mean, that's the only thing that I think it is a little contradictory, but that's not uncommon. We're going to charge you this much and no
I
more,
know.
but for this little thing here,
Okay.
so.
I'll find out.
So do we need to table this?
In the next 2 weeks, if I can get answers for that, I don't see why I'd have to table it and push it back another month unless somebody else wants to. I'll, but. That's true too. So we'll pass it on with the contingency that we receive the information that we need.
So I guess I need a motion.
Do we have any citizens that wanted to say anything on this? Or have a
They
question
don't
on
look very interested about this one.
this?
I'd make a motion to pass it or move it on to council.
I'll second that.
Roll call.
Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Amber,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Misty.
Yes.
Before we move on, can I make a correction? Okay, Mr. Burris, thank you for catching my mistake.
Oh, sure.
On B, 2021 was 63 thousand, and 2022 was the 73. I
Uh-huh.
apologize. I look back at my notes and
Thank you.
they are here.
That makes sense to me. Thank you so much.
Okay, I apologize for that.
That's right. Thank you. Appreciate that, Mayor.
Okay, moving on. We have a discussion of an ordinance calling a special election in the city of Tontitown on the question of issuing bonds under amendment number 62. Would that be Mr. Latham again?
Kevin Fox here for the Stevens, if you have any other questions. But basically, what we're doing is, as you know, this year in September, we passed a 10-year capital plan. And within that plan, it identified 3 major capital projects, of which a bond refinancing could work. Those projects included a 1 million gallon water storage tank and a 12-inch supply line, a new police station, upgrade to Spinoza Park, and a community center that would be retrofitted back to the old fire station. So what we're asking for is I think we've planned this all out, and basically Kevin could do a little bit more if you want to look at from the election standpoint, but basically there'll be a question of whether or not the public wants to refinance this. Secondly, each one of these individual ones would be voted on, whether you want it or not. So we're just asking to set up a time. I think it's March 3rd that the election would be. Yes, Mike.
Good.
Did you have a question?
March 5th.
I'm gonna wait my turn, so I think we have citizens first.
Yes. Any citizen out there with a comment about this? Council, questions?
Yes.
Mike, do you want to talk to Mark or you want to talk to?
I'll just address, and whoever wants to answer can answer. My understanding is this is not an additional 0.75%. It's replacing the one that's currently in use. We're going to retire the old debt. And, okay, all right, refinance, okay. Is this an all or nothing on the ballot issues? If one fails, it all fails?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So the refunding portion would have to pass for the rest of it to work. So that's on your ordinance, it's the refunding bond, so it would be the first question. So if that doesn't pass, then you're right, nothing else matters. However, if that passes, then the citizens can approve or not approve the other 3 projects. So, and you would do whatever passes, you would issue the debt for that.
Okay, so
That makes sense?
it does make sense. Thank you very much.
Mr. Falk, what is the current coupon schedule on our current bonds?
Current bonds, what's outstanding? This is a little misleading, but so I don't have the final debt service schedule when we sold the bonds back in 2017, but what's remaining, because you have redeemed some debt and you've paid off early and you've paid principal down. So, but what you have outstanding now is 3.42%.
3.42%.
Mm-hmm.
So that means we're paying 3.42%
On what's left.
on what's
Yes, sir.
remaining. That's
Mhm.
okay.
Average coupon.
And current rates projected for this?
Well,
We can talk about current rates now. I can speak to that, but go ahead.
and as we discussed a little bit as you walked in, rates have improved some the last several weeks for sure. We ran this at 4.77%. That's still probably ballpark. And that's a 2054 maturity. That's a little misleading too, if you can indulge me a minute, and I don't have anything to hand out to show you this, but that's on the entire debt. So as you pay off the bonds early, which they will, based on your sales tax collections. And we are projecting that they would pay off in 2043, even though they would have a 2054 maturity. And that's assuming no growth. So, take that for what it's worth.
And roughly how many years remain on this?
This one was projected to pay off in 2036, the 17 bonds. Is that what you mean?
Yep.
Yep. They were projected. Now I haven't done the analysis to see if that's still accurate. I know that we're ahead of that pace. But they stated maturity at that time when we did these in 2017 was 2048. So a similar structure as we did in 17, but that as the tax is growing, the debts are paying off sooner. Excuse me, the bonds are paying off sooner.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're looking at paying off the 2.9 million and then another 8 million for police improvement bonds, 7 million for water improvement bonds, and 2 million for park improvement bonds.
Correct.
So total of this particular, maybe I'm not saying this right. Is this a new bond of 19.9 million or is this a new bond of 17?
Well, it's a new bond because you're refinancing, so it is new.
But it's 19.9.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now, the 2.9 million in refunding is estimated, and we've talked about this, Mayor, I think in our meeting several weeks ago. I've shot a little high on that just to give us room. It's probably closer to, around 2,
Okay.
but just to be sure, in case something catastrophic happened and your sales tax just tanked, that sort of thing. We do that because, and again, we won't issue, not again, but we won't issue any more than we have to.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Sure.
Oh, one other clarification too. So those ballot amounts will account for cost of issuance and a reserve too. So when you talk about, for instance, an $8 million police station, that's going to provide project funds around $7 million. Okay, so we have to account for that in the ballot.
Okay.
One other question. This may be
Sure.
better directed to Mr. Eichmann.
Okay.
Only thing I found troubling about the language of the title of the ordinance is it says levying a 0.75% sales tax in use. It makes it sound like it's a new tax. And is there any way, and again, but I'm sure you have some familiarity with
I've
doing
done a few
these.
of these.
Is there any way that we can make this clearer so that the voter understands clearly that this is not levying a new tax? Because the way this reads, I would be confused if I was only reading the title, which many people will only do at the ballot box.
I understand. I don't think so. Now, the bond attorney, Ryan Bowman, who served as your bond attorney in the past for quite some time, drafted this. He does, most of them in the state, or at least his firm does. So I don't think there's another way to draft it, but I'll ask him. Because essentially it's the same tax, but it's re-levying it, if you will. So I think the language has to be the way it is, or he would write it differently, but I will certainly ask.
Well, I think it's clearly
Sure.
stated, if you read the entire
Right.
ordinance, it clearly comes out that we're refinancing. This is not an additional tax on what we already are taxed, because you're probably aware we already have a pretty
That's
high
right.
sales tax right here.
And some of that too, I think is just as you communicate with the public, just to make sure, assuming you want to move forward, that they understand this is not a new tax. You're just reauthorizing this tax
And we can do
because-
that with mailers that go out, obviously,
We went through the same thing last time. We talked to the citizens and,
Right.
that's just something you have to do.
I think
And
a
I
new
have
thing
the
we've
same
got
concern.
now is that text messaging system that we've got that, tonight a message went out that we had the cow tonight. So I think that might help if we're able to use that tool to push that message out.
And we probably have to check on the legalities of some of that too. I had the same concern last time, and I do believe it has to be written the way that it's written. So there's a lot that I like about what we're doing as a city. I think, Mr. Latham, you're doing a fantastic job. These are all things that are really, really important. I don't at all mind refunding bonds when the rates are good. But just some simple back of the napkin math here. I don't have a napkin, I wrote it on paper. But just some simple math here, just the change in interest rates, that this would be on just that small amount, that increases our annual payments by $138,330. It adds over $500,000 to our bottom line to try to get rid of something that we already owe that we're paying down. Now, I understand part of the reason for that is because we're trying to get these other monies, but we're borrowing money, which, as you know, I'm not crazy about. But we're borrowing money at a higher rate, and things, I mean, the market had a great year until it didn't. In October, it just got crushed. Last week or so, we've seen some signs of improvement, which has made some of the rates change, but the Federal Reserve has not changed rates, and they look like they may or may not. They've said that they may still raise rates, and with that said, by the time we get into March, they could be even higher than they are, which would cost us more money. And when we're talking about millions and millions of dollars, I haven't run the math on the $20 million, but it's going to be ugly. And things are tight. Many of you probably already heard that people that owed student loans, they didn't have to pay those. Now they have to pay them again. We've got slowing in the economy. We've got slowing in unemployment. We've got all sorts of things that are really problematic. And what I'd rather see, you guys may remember last time I was pushing, let's do this before they go higher. And now I'm more inclined to say, hey, what if we pulled back a little bit? Now that might make us wait a year or two or even 3, which I know nobody wants to do, but it will save this city, in this case, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, just to wait a little bit. Money that could be spent on other things. Just my thought. So I trust you guys, and I trust what direction you want to go, but this is something that I have grave concerns about.
Well, that does bring up a question. Let's say this does go for a vote, and interest rates, I mean, it passes, interest rates increase. To Tim's point, I mean, are we legally obligated to move forward because the citizens have voted on this? Is there a time period that we can wait? Are we stuck?
You can wait, unless the city council comes back after the, say all questions pass. I'm not the attorney, so forgive me here. I'm not sure. I think there is a mechanism for the city council to say we are not going to go ahead and levy the tax. I think you can do that. I've never seen that happen. It's only in my almost 20 years doing this, that's really only come up once, and that was because we had a tax. Like we had an O&M tax, operation maintenance tax, along with a bond tax, and the O&M tax didn't pass, and so there was some question about whether the county, in this case, wanted to move forward, and they did. But they had the option of not levying that additional tax. If it's all approved by the voters, I'm not so sure you cannot levy the tax. So that's an attorney question. I think you can. I mean, I think you can say, yes, we don't want to levy the tax, but that would be kind of, in my mind, politically, that might be hard to do if your voters have approved all of this. But, you know, I'm not sitting where you all are. So if you choose, say everything passes, we don't have to issue right away. If interest rates aren't favorable, you know, the tax is being collected while this is going on. So we would have a March election. My calendar showed that we wouldn't offer the debt until May. So to Tim's point, I mean, we don't know what interest rates are going to look like. We're a long ways from there. So, I mean, they could be down, they may not be. And if they are up and you want to issue, then we issue what we can issue. So, I mean, we have to have adequate coverage, meaning enough revenues to cover debt service. So if for some reason we can't issue the entire amount and we moved forward anyway, we would just issue what we could issue. And some of that's just timing.
If they are down significantly in the next 10 months, 12 months, as a financial advisor, I have grave concerns about the economy in that regard too.
Sure.
I think the Fed would jump the gun a little bit. So, I mean, yeah, could it happen? Sure. But the Fed's also said that they're willing to raise rates if they need to further control inflation. So, I mean, we're just so not out of the woods yet. And there's just a lot. I understand that the voters get to make this decision if we put it out there. But I I don't want to put them in a spot that may not be where we want them to be either. Kevin, I know you know exactly how I feel about that.
Sure. And again, until we sell the bonds, we won't know the interest rate anyway. I mean, we'll have an idea. Again, and some of the numbers that we've talked about, 4.77 versus what it was, 3.45. A little misleading because again, as the debt pays off early, it drives down the interest cost because you're typically that debt that you're paying off in inverse order. So those at the end oftentimes have the highest interest rates. Now, it gets a little complicated with redemptions and when you're paying off stuff early and sometimes they're lower, but still, as you pay off that debt, it's driving down the interest rate cost. So at the end of the day, you're not going to pay 4.77, you know.
But a 20-year bond issued in May is going to be significantly higher than the 3.42, which was a, you know,
Right. What you have
a
in that,
20-year
correct.
bond at the time.
You had, I have it here. So when we did these in 17,
Sorry.
our interest rates our yields were 175 to 3. So, I mean,
It's crazy.
they were good.
Yeah.
I mean, they're for sure good. You know, and historically, as you know, we're still not, it's not crazy high interest
It's
rates.
not
really.
1984.
But it's not like it was 6 months ago.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, it's more than that. A year ago or a year and a half ago, they were, you know, really, really good. So
I think you have.
Well, these are all fixed rate, right? You don't get variables or, you know, you can't say,
We wouldn't
okay,
do
we're
that in
gonna
this
take the,
case, right.
okay, yeah.
But there are different tranches.
Yeah.
So, you know, a 5-year is going to be one tranche at a 10 and a 15 and a 20. The further out we go, the more we're paying. So we're saying, hey, we're borrowing your money for longer. And for that, we're going to give you more. So if we're paying out 6.5% for 20 years on this stuff, it's a long payout on that tranche.
it is, and now these are a little more difficult to refund for savings because you are paying off debt early with this. It's called the capital penny is that statute, and that's how the bond attorneys will refer to it. Meaning again, as you collect taxes and you collect more than you need for debt service, that surplus goes to pay off debt early, which is why they pay off earlier than the state of maturity. God, it's so long-winded, I forgot my point.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's happened a couple times lately. I guess I'm getting old. Yeah, that's good.
Well, let me ask you this. So what you're saying, help me understand that,
Mhm.
is say that we borrowed 8 million for the police department and only ended up needing 7. You're saying the rest of that could be used for early, do we have
Well,
to
yeah.
use all of it?
So I know my point now, I think.
I was trying to help you.
Well, so we're gonna issue up to 8 million for the police department, for instance.
As needed, okay,
As ne-
up to,
so-
okay.
You don't have to issue all of that. You kind of want to ask the voters what you think you're gonna need, however. But, so, I mean, that number can change if you want it to change. Now, we had meetings with the police chief and Mark, and, you know, we came up with these numbers, so.
Right.
I didn't just pick them out of the air,
Right.
so,
I figured they were pretty calculated.
yeah. I know what I was talking about was, Tim, forgive me. We were talking about, if rates come down in the future, you have the opportunity to refund debt. So just like you go refinance a house, they're a little more complicated when you have these bonds that pay off early. It's harder to show that you're getting some savings because you're going to have to predict when things are paying off, get kind of into the weeds. But that was my point, that if rates come back to where we've kind of seen the last 5-10 years, but you know, I don't know.
But just like with the house, it costs money to do it too.
It does.
So if we had 5% on this thing all the way through, and I mean, you said 4.77. Part of the reason, by the way, that 4.77 on that on those go down is because it's no longer a 20-year, right? It's a 10-year or it's a 5-year, or I mean, it's a no year, right? We're switching it out. So 5% would be a really good rate, but 5% on 19.9 million, that's $1 million a year in just debt service, just paying off the debt that we owe. That is a lot of money on this city's budget to pay that off. And frankly, some of these things aren't necessarily bringing us revenue. They need to happen. I absolutely want the police to have a new building and have all the money that we need for that stuff. And We want to make sure that we've got our water improvement. We need water improvements. I mean, we've got to have this stuff. But again, if we did this same thing 18 months from now, I think the world looks different. And it saves us hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, which is going to add up to millions over the course of time.
And one thing I might point out as you talk about that too, remember, since the legislature has changed the election dates, you only have 2 shots at this
Yep,
every year.
absolutely.
So next year it's March and November.
Yeah, and it's going to be tough in November, isn't it?
Well, yes,
Virtually
I
impossible.
think so.
Well, yes.
I mean, my best advice is if you don't want to do this in March, then you don't do it next year. Because I think November's a bad time. I mean, it's a presidential election. And then the following year, it's in May. So when it's non-presidential elections, it's May and November. Presidential, it's March. So,
And
yeah, I would.
I would love to do it in May of 25. Right now, but
And you don't, I mean, you just never know with rates. I mean,
I know.
you
I
know.
just wanted to say again, though, if we do wait a year or 2 years, then everything's gonna go up.
It's a good point too.
Everything's gonna
Sure.
go up. So I think we're kind of at a catch-22, and if it does go down, we can go back and try to do the refinancing.
And Tim, look, Tim makes a good point. I'm just trying to say, you know, historically, we've been used to such low rates. I mean, I have some school bond issues that are under 2%. I mean, just unheard of.
Yeah.
But that was during COVID and market tanked and
Yeah.
It was a very good time, you know, to be in the bond market if you were issuing. But, you know, historically, we're still not very high. I mean, my first house was 8%. I remember my parents had a variable rate. They were so high.
Mike's got a question.
Yeah, but, it's not, I understand your point, but it's not a new $1 million a year added to the budget. We're currently paying on the debt, right? What is that current payment?
Oh, current payment is. And, you know,
And I know we're asking for more money,
But,
but
Well,
but remember, you're only talking about that 2.9, what the service payment is.
I
and that.
understand that.
Yeah.
Yes, but still, it's not
2.9
a,
versus 9.9. That's the new number, is 9.9.
17.
I think.
19.9 is what I
19, yes.
thought I heard.
I think you're
Yes.
paying about 280 now.
Okay.
But you can't, I mean,
So
you can't.
substantial increase.
Assuming you all want to move forward, I mean, it's the same, again, we talked about whether it's a new tax or not a new tax. It's the same tax. This tax can't be used for anything but debt service. So, I mean, the current tax is only going for debt service. When the bonds pay off, the tax goes away. Same thing here. If you issue the debt, the tax can't go for anything else.
Okay.
So, and they trade, you know, they trade well because of that. Now, again, we'll see what it looks like if Florida it passes and all those things happen.
And I guess my thought, as you say that, if we did pay this off before 2025, which is a possibility, I guess, and the tax goes away, the hardest thing you can do is go ask people for a new tax. So, because it's even though it's not new, it's new.
I don't have the exact schedule in front of me, but looking at what my analyst gave me, I think we must be pretty close to on schedule to pay these at 2036 in that range. Now, I haven't done the analysis, so please don't hold me to that, but I'm looking at what's remaining when she ran the numbers for me, and it's out to 2036, so.
3/4% can't go away yet because we just did bonds a couple years ago again.
Well, yeah, it goes away when the bonds pay off. So assuming you do nothing, then that tax will drop off at some point, whether that's 12 years from now or 10 years from now or 5, whatever that is.
So how many of these are stacked on top of each other right now? Do you know?
I'm not sure I understand.
Well, we just did a bond 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's a different tax.
Right, that's what I'm asking. So we've got tax stacked on tax.
You have 2 different taxes. One's a general tax. So you issue debt.
The one.
Yeah, the one. That's the one we did in 21. So that one is that tax is a different statute. So that tax is what's not needed for debt service comes back to the city. If you'll recall, there was a big, all that coming back to help subsidize the utility.
Right.
And then this one again is that bond tax. So it has to be used for debt service. Can't be used for anything else.
Well, thanks for indulging me. I appreciate it. I was all for the last one. This one, I feel icky.
So now, I guess, I'm going to have to ask for a motion. Oh, I guess this discussion and questions is what we've done right now, is it not? I already asked them.
I have one other, I mean, if anybody's thinking about tabling this, you're running up against the deadline that you have to notify. December 26th, I believe, is the cutoff date that we have to notify if we're going to do this in March. So, yeah, there's a,
Well, with that question, let me ask another one. Let's say that we vote on this. Let's say it passes council. We put it in that we're going to have this election in March, and the writing is on the wall that things are not looking good, interest rates, whatever. Do we have to move forward with an election?
I think so, because you're going to already have notified the county clerk. So ballots are going to be drafted, those sort of things.
Okay.
And that deadline, like if you decided before the deadline, then you could pull it back.
And
which
the deadline
again,
is,
December 26th. I think that's correct. But again, you're not going to have an accurate picture in December of what's going to look like in May.
Yeah.
And I mean, Tim may be exactly right. I mean, we could have rates go through the roof.
Mhm.
They've been doing like this. They're down 25 basis points last week. So that's 0.25% in a week. But I've seen it go up that high in a week, a month ago, whenever that was. We just kind of been doing that. And the Fed has come out and, this last time the Fed has said, we're going to pause, meaning they're not going to raise rates anymore, or at least in the short term. So maybe that was the impact. If things get kicked off in the Middle East, that probably means recession, because that probably means oil goes sky high, which probably is pretty good for rates. But
Everybody
probably
get
good
electric cars.
for interest rates. So, and who knows? I mean, if the U.S. gets dragged into this, you never know, too. So, and if I could predict interest rates, I wouldn't be working. I can tell you that. That's right. So, I mean, my boss told me when I started almost 20 years ago, try to outguess rates, and that's a good statement, because I can't do that. I mean, I can tell you what trends are doing and that sort of thing, but as far as telling you what they're going to be, I don't have any idea.
The short-term trend is to go down.
Yep. So, and they're up significantly since January, this year. That's kind of when things just really started going up. Yeah, thank you.
So now, I seek a motion.
I'll make a motion that we send this to city council.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Daniel,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Tim,
No,
Misty. Yes. Mike,
Yes.
Amber.
yes.
All right, next, we have a discussion of a conditional use permit at 432 Industrial Drive. This is informational only, no vote needed. Per Angie.
This is the only
and-
thing coming out of the planning commission. Planning commission approved this conditional use permit to construct 2 warehouses. This is actually a C2 zoning, which requires a conditional use permit. And anybody else have any questions on that?
Please.
Is this Mr. Bader's property?
No.
This is the one that we just discussed at the last meeting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, all my questions were answered then.
I think I think when I looked up the Secretary of State, it was Tamara Martin was the owner of it. I wasn't there for the planning commission meeting, but I think there was an issue with sidewalks on that CUP. Y'all were talking about the sidewalks out in front of the building. What was the end result on those sidewalks?
There's no need, I can answer that, Mark. There's
there
no
was,
sidewalk on either side.
There was
Okay.
several waivers that was requested and they were
pass.
denied.
Okay,
So they're gonna have to come back and meet the requirements.
so something to do with like landscape.
But the sidewalk itself, I think
Maybe the sidewalks, maybe I'm correct, maybe the sidewalks, they
we
got.
did away with the sidewalk, but the landscaping part, they're gonna
Must
have
come
to.
back.
Well, there's facades, there's landscaping.
Right.
There's some other things there that need to be, they asked for waivers on.
Yeah.
And I think, Larry, you're right. I believe the one on the sidewalks, they determined that there
Didn't
wasn't
need
a place
sidewalk
to go.
Okay.
So they went ahead.
today, but
Yeah,
not in the
today,
future,
yeah.
right?
There's not a sidewalk on either business, either side.
As businesses go in there though, I mean, I would,
There's businesses there presently and they don't
Correct.
have sidewalks.
but as,
Sidewalks to nowhere.
I like sidewalks. My comment was because you could get out to Fletcher and eventually somebody's gonna ride their bike to work eventually. You
Yeah,
never know.
down the road as we,
Down the road.
as we
yeah,
grow.
yeah. Anyway, any other questions? Okay.
All right. Any more questions? All right. I guess this will be going on to city council. We've discussed it all we need to discuss. All right. Now, the discussion of a resolution to adopt the 2023 Washington County Hazard Mitigation Plan. I think, wait, does anybody present this?
Well, I was just gonna,
No, not Mark.
I was gonna say, this is the 2023 Washington County Hazard Mitigation Plan from the Northwest Arkansas Economic Development District. They have sent this over for our review and adopt through a resolution for our jurisdiction. However, just to let you know, we are not able to make any changes on this. But James, would you like to further comment on this? Please, sir. I was just reading what they sent me in the email today.
So here's a copy of the hazard mitigation plan that we currently have for Washington County. It's dated 2008. They are basically updating this manual. And I made a copy of a piece of paper and put it on your desk there. This basically tells you everything you need to know about the Washington County hazard mitigation plan. Specifically, I'll read just this bottom paragraph. This plan meets requirements for a local mitigation plan under interim final rule 44 of the Code of Federal Regulations, published in the Federal Register by the Federal Emergency Management Agency on February 28, 2002. Meeting the requirements of this regulation of the regulations cited above keeps Washington County qualified to obtain all disaster assistance, including hazard mitigation grants available through the Robert Stafford Disaster Relief and Emergency Assistance as amended. And that's the hazard mitigation grant we've used a couple of times. Last one was on the Barrington Heights subdivision. We were able to get about $300,000 through the hazard mitigation grant. But basically, they have to do this to stay qualified for any federal assistance in disasters.
Is there anything else that needs to be handled on our side? I mean, is there, what could we do to mess that up? I mean, I know we can't really change it, but we say yes,
Right.
but is there anything that could happen? A flood comes in a neighborhood like we had before, and we need to do something about it, and they come in and say, oh, you know what? That doesn't qualify because of X, Y, Z.
Because you didn't adopt the plan, right?
But even if we,
That could happen.
but even if we adopt the plan Is there anything else we could do to mess this up for
No.
citizens? Okay. Okay, well, then, it seems like we have, the choice is we have no choice but to do it.
That is correct, but we have a citizen here that would like to make a comment, I believe.
Awesome.
Would like to understand what the hazard mitigation plan is, because I have a hazard by my house that is not mitigated by anybody.
Fair point.
So that's,
Great point.
that's my concern. Is that not included? Because I've called the county, I've called all kinds of folks. Nobody is responsible for the hazards that we encounter. So if we approve this plan, if we can't change it, what are we doing? We're just reaching out for flood water help? Is that what we're doing?
Sounds like it.
How do we fix this? It's, that's my frustration.
Understood.
Oh, and we had a technical difficulty with the Teams, and there were two people online that didn't get to comment. Could they possibly comment at the end of the meeting?
Concerning today?
Yes, sir. Public comments.
Mr. Lovett, I think I have your answer. You're not going to like it.
Okay.
Page 1, paragraph 1, general description. This Washington County pre-hazard mitigation plan was created to protect the health, safety, and economic interests of Washington County residents by reducing the risk of natural hazards.
Natural hazards. Loophole. Thank you.
Okay, I guess, after that brief discussion, we'll send this on and vote on this at the next meeting. Is that correct? Huh?
It's just discussion. I don't.
I think we need a motion to,
I'll make that motion to do the thing we have to do.
okay.
I'll second that.
All right, roll call.
Daniel,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Misty? Yes. Mike,
Yes.
Amber?
Yes.
Item G, discussion of the 2024 budget. This will be our mayor.
Here we go. Last year, when we prepared the budget, it was, I put in here in my wording, just a little stressful. No, it was a lot stressful. It was my very first year doing it, and I was completely overwhelmed. And Mr. Penalto was a lifesaver. This year, we prepared the budget a little differently. I spoke to mayors of other cities. I read information from the Municipal League, and I spoke with Pat and Mark Latham. Mark has extensive knowledge on this subject. At our first meeting with all department heads, Mark put together a priority ranking packet and gave it to all of the department heads. They were given a date to get it returned. Then he prioritized each department, and we had meetings with them. After each meeting, an update was made to the budget sheet. There were a total of 3 rounds of us going and doing this. After each round, I sent the packets to each of the council members for them to be able to come to City Hall or call or email with questions that they might have about the budgets. So this, what we're seeing now, is the final budget that was put together for the year 2024. And that's all I have. Mr. Latham or Mr. Penalto, do either of you have anything additional that you would like to add? And let me tell you, these two men have worked so hard for the last couple of months on this. They have both been absolutely phenomenal.
Okay. Do I have any citizen comments pertaining to our budget? Do we have any questions or comments from our council here? Mike, you're looking awfully hard. Tim, I know you've.
sorry, I've highlighted a bunch of things. I was talking to the mayor today. I mean, budgeting is really not an accounting. There's a reason I'm not an accountant. But some of these numbers look really good, as far as, year-to-date versus budget numbers and things like that. You know, I saw a couple of like engineering costs on community development are up, and both of those costs are over what's budgeted. We got payroll, however, in the fire that's way under the budget. So there's some things that kind of even out over the course of it. I need to look at it again, probably have more questions, but, you know, right now, I really don't have anything to ask.
And I know you all, you know, have had it and look at it. I kind of put kind of an overview synopsis, if you would like for me to go through it, what all this budget includes. Maybe that would help.
That'd be great.
You know, because basically we're trying to do it. So what we tried to do this year is first estimate our income. We, especially on the city side, we tried to stay flat. We hope it comes out a lot better than what we do it. So that was our first goal, is to figure out where we would be at income. And then we took 85% of that. And we have all the different departments in the city, which will be police, fire, park, museum, all those. So we were trying to target, our target this year was 85% for operating and expense, and then 15% of that income to cover fixed asset purchases and put at least 5% back in savings. So after going through a few rounds, of course, there's some extraordinary things that we're preparing for this year, you know, so hopefully next year we can get close to that. But I won't spend a lot of time on it, but just hit some highlights. So our target was 85% on operating expense. On city, we came in at 91.4. That was a little bit higher than what we wanted. And our 15% target for capital improvements and putting into savings came out at 8.6. Part of that, and I'll explain here later where that comes from. 64% of our income is payroll cost in any company. That's your biggest expense. Payroll does include basically buffers for increases in our health insurance. We're in the middle of renegotiating right now. You know, normally it goes up. We'll wait and see. We've moved from a small group to a large group, so that may help us. Also, our budget also includes up to a 4% increase for full-time employees if we completed up to 1 year of service, and some adjustments on some salaries. Police, it includes fixed assets purchases of $155,000. We have kind of a breakout there if you want to know what those are. Fire includes a fixed asset purchase of $124,750. And that is also including to promote 3 of our members to captains that are currently on our staff, add 3 new firefighter positions, and adjust fire pay for retention and recruitment. As you know, we made that decision a couple of years ago when we built a new fire department. Now we got to get it staffed. So that's part of the extraordinary this year. There's some expenses in here that, you know, are high this year because we got to get the fire department beefed up to where they need to be, you know, since we're getting ready to open it. Then if I can find this. Mark, I grabbed yours. Do you have the second half of this? I just grabbed yours. Oh, I found it. Never mind. I found it.
So you stapled it wrong.
Yeah, I remember that. And then, of course, park, that includes fixed assets of $95,000. A request was put in to purchase a new motor. When we get to the water and sewer budget, same targets, 85% for operating expense. His current budget came out at 92.77 of that target, so it's a little bit high this year. That includes fixed assets purchases that he's requested for $570,000, which includes 4 items. Same thing on payroll, that's all built into the payroll numbers. We have adjusted because of the new impact fees for water and sewer. So we have some new income line items on those and budgeted. That's a guessing game this year. Also, not in the budget, but what I've just made note, which you probably see on your copy, is we do know by talking to James this last year that we're probably going to run short on our last bond issue for the water line out here. We're expecting to be about $850,000 short from what we got out of the bonds compared to the cost increase. And the other one, which is 412, sorry, can't see that. Yeah, so those are just footnotes that those, could hit us next year also coming out. And those, basically, we'd have to take those out of those current savings accounts, basically. And streets had an 85% target. Our budget came out 84, so that's good. We were able to hit the 15% for capital improvements and stuff. Includes fixed asset purchase of $50,000 for some items. I just want to thank all the department heads. Like I said, we went through this. We'd kind of play with numbers, get back together, trying to get these numbers as close as we could to our target this year, which I think it came out real good for our first year. We're not that far off of the 85%. Water and sewer, you will notice, or should, which I would like, basically a decision somehow what you want me to do tonight, if you can, if this is going to go to council, is by their budget, including everything they have requested, they're going to be $250,000 short. And so to get a balanced budget, I would need to add a line item in there to transfer that 250 out of their reserves account. And I'm just, was thinking if we go to council with this budget this month, that would need to be on the budget you all approve. If we're going to approve that, or else he's going to have to cut some expenses somewhere. So that would be the only thing I'd ask for some discussion and what we're going to do tonight on that. Any questions on just the overall?
Mike?
Do we have that thing of what was prioritized by the different departments? Is it listed somewhere?
Well,
separate
it
from
kind of
this?
started, well, the budget's a little bit different. We have the 10-year capital plan,
Sure.
which kind of helps us through. But in where a lot of this comes from, it's like a lot of our operating costs naturally go up. We try to estimate income a little bit low to protect us. Fixed assets, a lot of it's in the fixed assets. And that's where we have cut some. I know we went back to the department heads on the city side and said, hey, can anybody give a little? And we need 50,000 here and there, and everybody gave up a little bit. We adjusted, so it just takes that. So I'm saying to cover everything that they have requested, and if we're talking about water and sewers, James is here, he can talk about it more. It's, fixed assets is one of the easiest things. A lot of them, they worked real well on this year. Is it a need this year? Can we put it off till next year? Because if it's, something you can put off to next year.
Sure. And that's really kind of what I'm asking.
Yeah.
What are the specific things that are in the fixed asset categories that are being asked for? And I know Mr. Clark's done a real good job with I love the spreadsheet of the public works things that are done and the progress status updates, all that. It's really good information to have. For example, not too long ago, we bought a ladder truck. Are there things like that are being requested for next year's budget that we need to look at?
Well, let me just go through it real quick, and I'll just
Thank you.
start with city side. City side, of course, admin includes fixed asset purchases. We've already have it on order. Can't do anything about that. Our new sign. So we're budgeting. This budget includes $10,000 to cover that. Police, their fixed assets total of 155. They're here, correct me if I'm wrong. About 27,000 is, he would like to buy some drones. 80,000 is a new CID Command Tahoe, and 48,000 for patrol rifles. And also that's adding one person to his staff. I don't know if I included that earlier. Fire is requesting about 125,000 in fixed assets. I asked Ryan for a list, but he said it's about 6 pages long. It's a lot of, they're fixed assets, but they're a lot of small amounts. Any large amount in that? Chief Crew? And then the park includes fixed assets of 5,000. Basically, they'd like to have a new mower. Okay. And when we get to water and sewer, it in here somewhere. Oh, yeah. Let me, and another way where you'll find it, if you have a copy of the budget, find it here. At the very end of water and sewer, I've actually pulled the fixed assets down to the bottom. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not the detail, that's the amount, that's the 570. James, I'm gonna need some help from you. Don't have the list of what all.
Yes, sir. Fixed assets for Public Works is 2 vehicles and the fixed base meter reading system again.
Know what that
The
number
jet sitting
was?
system and a regular pickup truck.
Okay,
How much was that? Do you have a ballpark number
For the meter reading,
and the truck?
I put, one of the trucks is going to be a utility vehicle to also pull the backhoe and mini X with. So it's going to be a 1-ton. I put 80,000 in there for that. 50,000 for a regular pickup, and then 300,000 for the meter reading system.
Has that price come down since last year? I thought that was like 750. Is it a different unit?
I'm just trying not to do it all in one year. Because you're right, yeah, of course, there's still some options there. I think I talked a little bit about it last year. If we stick with the meter reading system that we have, it will be cheaper because I won't have to change out the transmitters or the meters. If we switch to another company, then yeah, it's going to be considerably more because we'll have to change out at least the transmitters. And then if we go even a different direction, we may have to change out the meter and the transmitter. So,
So tell me the benefits of switching to a different meter reader.
well, the big thing is that everyone will have access, all the customers will have access to their accounts. They will have, they can set up texts and emails that if they have a leak, it will let them know. Also for the water clerk, she has instant access to all the meters. So she doesn't have to generate a work order for someone to go out and read a meter. She can pull it up on her screen and get real-time numbers.
And currently we have to drive by the meter, is that right? To read?
Yes, yeah, currently we have a drive-by system, but if you have any questions about the account after the bills go out, then we have to send somebody back out again to reread the meter or check for leaks or that kind of stuff, which could all be done from the office.
But if there's a leak that's detected by this other system, we still have to send somebody out.
Yeah, probably going to send someone out to verify that.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So the total cost of that meter reader is approximately how much?
Well, like I say, there's different options, but the cheapest we would be able to do it is about 300,000.
Okay, so you could conceivably pay for that in year one?
Yes.
Okay.
so it's fixed assets, I can find it now. He's budgeted 350 for the fixed base meter read system, 90,000 for a truck, 80,000 for a jetting system, and another 50,000 for a regular pickup. That's what's included in the 570,000.
Okay.
You ready for me?
No, not yet.
We'll close out the next.
Any questions on this end?
I do, when the mayor sent out the budget, I've looked at it and I've got it highlighted and got little notes. So I will get with each head department and kind of go through my list individually and kind of see if we can get some answers to my questions so that I have some due diligence on that part. So, because this copy's brand new, so I'm just writing more notes now. But being new to the council, are we going to, I was involved on the sidelines of the last budget. Are we doing anything like that where we're having work sessions?
I suggest no.
Okay. I didn't know if that was going to occur because I didn't want to be redundant. So this is my opportunity to reach out to those head departments and get those answers.
And
I'll
I'm
do
sure
that.
if you want to come up here and talk with them anytime during the day, they will be more than happy to discuss it with you.
That's what I'll do.
Misty,
No, I'd already come up and been talking to them
Okay.
for
Amber?
quite a while now.
I just have a couple questions, but I'll visit with them. I have a couple.
I believe Mr. Burris has a question.
I got some stuff. By the way, Danny, I do think it's a best practice for us to at least sit and have a conversation, but be that as it may, I think this is exemplary work. It really is. This is like my favorite thing that you gave us. This is just incredible. Thank you so much. There are little things that I just have question marks on. I don't necessarily see anything grievous or anything that I'm going to lose sleep over, but I just wanted to have some answers if you don't mind. On the front page on police revenue, it looks like we're projected through year end to be under budget. Is that right? Or am I reading that?
Answer to that. I think I was looking at that one today. Was that under income?
It says revenue less expenditures. If you look at expenses, the 2023 year end, we're over by about 50 grand, but then next year's budget's only 50 grand. So I had a question about that. If we overspent by 50,000, why did we drop the budget down for next year from roughly 100,000 spent this year back to 50?
Okay, I'm sorry. Are you on the income side or the expense?
I'm sorry, I'm on the very first page
Okay, so that'd be the income side, right?
under expenses.
He's on Act.
Act 988.
988.
Yes, sorry.
988.
Sorry.
Okay,
I
that's
know
a
it's different. I
animal
apologize.
altogether. Okay, I'm with you.
Different animal.
Yes. Act 988, and Chief Jennison, if you would like
Here he
to come
is.
speak, that is a specialized fund that can only be used for certain things.
Act 9088 is basically certain fines collected off certain tickets from court that come back, and they can go towards vehicle and vehicle equipment.
But the expenses on that were up.
So the expense on that was the last payment to the camera system
Okay.
that we did. So that it's why, and it's not to, I'm taking my words here. There's been a decrease in, it's kind of been fluctuating on what we're getting back in fines.
So if we spend another $46,877.48 paying off that camera system, why did we pay that in this year if it was over the expense budgeted? Is it just because we had it?
We brought in less this year on 988 than what we had
Okay,
anticipated. So
it just is what it is.
yes, so that was the last payment that is paid off. No more on that. So
Okay.
it's just going to be the licensing fees.
Super duper. Okay. And then total city general revenue, looks like it was up 27.46%. Over what we budgeted and what the projection is through the end of the year. That's awesome. But I noticed some odd things, at least they're odd to me until you answer them. I noticed in total administration expense, there's about $120,000 drop from what's projected through this year and what is budgeted for 2024. Is that just because people are being moved around or expenses are being moved around, or is there something else I'm missing?
Part of it has to, you know, really what I looks at the big items. Part of it's payroll. Because like when, and I can't remember the exact specifics, but when Zach was hired, he was under admin. Now he's more under community development. So
Got it.
some of those things,
Yeah, that
you know,
explains that.
move around, and that could make one kind of look low and the
Sure.
other look a little bit higher.
Okay, that answers that. That's just
And
fine.
engineering, if you noticed,
Is up about 56,000 year over
by
year. right?
engineering on admin, we had budgeted 50,000 last year. We got 0 in the budget for this year because it won't hit the admin side. Where
Correct.
it's supposed
Got
to,
it.
where it
Yeah.
needs to go.
And then I noticed that there's an engineering line item. I'm getting ahead of myself, but there's an engineering line item that has gone up. And I thought part of the great benefit of Zach was that we wouldn't have that, but I'm probably just misunderstanding where our engineering money goes.
Well, and if you notice, admin engineering went to 0. but
Right, I did
community
see that.
development went from 50 to 90. So
Correct.
that's just kind of the same thing as payroll is shifting to get it in the right department.
Yeah, under sewer expenses is where I saw the
Oh,
engineering
okay.
change. It's up about 54,000. Again, I'm jumping ahead.
Part of that.
And the reason for the increase in the sewer is the project that we're planning on engineering next year, but we won't be constructing it probably till the following year.
Okay, so that's above and beyond Zach's scope.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. Fire department. Looks like that, we spent about 25.58% more, but then I noticed that there's an even bigger change in what we're gonna spend next year.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the big ones. 'Cause
Yeah,
remember,
that's big.
last year, we only had what, 3 people in the
Yeah,
fire department?
Yeah, that's almost a 50% increase, 46.93%.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So that's where part of why we didn't hit the 15%, but we got pretty close.
Okay.
So.
And I understand, we want good people and that costs some money. And the museum department, I noticed there's a payroll shift that was highlighted in this letter to go from part-time to full. But I noticed that the payroll with benefits goes from 21,000 to roughly 60,000. Is that for one person going from part-time to full-time as this letter would indicate, or are there other payroll benefits in there?
You will be able to get insurance.
Yeah, part of that, and that may be bumped up a little bit, because I always try to buff that up because I don't show it insurance. But once you go to full-time, then you can pretty much add another 10 to 12,000 for benefits.
Okay, and are we at a place there, in the museum where we need that full-time? Yeah, Megan? I had a feeling you give me some good answer on that one.
We are definitely in this spot. To be able to expand and keep doing what we're doing at the museum, the only way to do it is with a full-time person. You can't have a part-time person in there cataloging all the artifacts that we have. A lot of our artifacts are in homes right now. We're waiting for us to get them and be able to archive them and everything. I mean, she could do work for years easily with just what we need to do to get to a good spot. So that money, to answer your question, is 23 hours extra a week. She currently has 17 hours. So that would give her 40 hours a week plus benefits. That our payroll also includes 12 hours of part-time for a part-time person to do some weekend stuff.
Okay. All right, thank you. I noticed the park department, the payroll expense went down to 0. Am I missing something there, or did we shift a person?
Actually, nobody's assigned to park payroll right now.
Okay.
That's the best answer I can give you right now.
Okay.
So Fernando, You mean
Well, he's actually, I'm trying to
consider
think.
street?
Street?
He's actually on the streets.
Okay.
You know,
And do we see that continuing going forward?
that, well, I haven't heard any different from the department heads, so I
Okay.
can only go by what I'm told.
Okay,
Because, you know, a lot of times, yeah, they're out here working on the park, but then they're out working on streets and other things, so those are kind of tough.
okay. And then,
Yeah.
that's good. Lots of hats they wear. Under police department, there's a line item for loan principal and interest payment of 110,000 for next year. I don't remember what loan that was,
I actually added that, so it's just easier for us to track. It
which
was-
explains why I
It was
didn't know
in
what loan it
others
was.
last year. I have a copy of the monthly financials here. Yeah, that's the vehicle lease program that we did.
Okay,
So we just put it on line item. You'll see that same line item in fire, just to keep track of the loan payments on the fire.
Okay.
Not the fire truck.
and then I noticed that the payroll went up 22%, but the uniform expense went down. So we don't have naked cops out there, do we? Just, I want to make sure it's a family town.
Yes, the position we're asking for isn't going to be a uniform position. It's going to be to go in with, and help Danielle. We're getting to the point with, I know we've talked a little bit about our warrants. Washington County has pushed all the warrants out on all the small towns to maintain and house their own. So that's a little over 1,000 warrants that she maintains, as well as monthly validations for anything that we have entered into National Crime Information Center for stolen. Just do validations on those, as well as all of our warrants. On top of that, all of the FOI requests, discovery for court, and then dealing with public, getting accident reports, things like that. So it's going to be to get somebody else in there to help with that.
Okay.
So uniform side of it, last year was up a little bit for some of the positions we have, new positions. So it trickled down just a little bit.
Okay. So the overall expense before capital improvements looks like it's up 18.65%. Does that sound about right, Pat?
Probably. Yeah. For capital improvement?
Yeah.
Overall expense?
Yes, sir. Is that what the $4.7 million, that's the 2024 budget for?
That is.
Okay, then yeah. And then I noticed that I believe it's the sewer budget, gotta find it, on payroll with benefits is it's up 93.47% year over year. Is that based on a shift of duties or?
That payroll's up 94%?
Yeah, it says payroll with benefits. I'm looking at 2023 projected through year end is $111,127.92. And the 2024 budget amount is $215,000. That's almost double.
On sewer?
I'm sorry, street. I said sewer. I'm sorry, street.
Okay.
I apologize.
Thank
Hey, these glasses, I don't wear often enough that I can see out of them
you.
yet.
I'm the same
You
way
know.
here, so I understand.
I don't know.
But again, part of that's because we have the decision, part of the decision was we had an employee who was hired for water and sewer. So they were asking for another employee. Streets was asking for another employee. But we had an employee that was hired for water and sewer that is better fitted for streets. So this includes him. So you got him now added in this for this year, plus Fernando.
So then,
They're both paid under streets.
so then did sewer drastically go down?
Sewer? No, it wouldn't drastically go down because it was just one employee. So originally, streets wanted to hire another person, but we took that out of the budget and moved Austin over. And James has that in his budget,
Yeah,
trying to
so
hire one person.
Larry, you just said sewer went up as well?
And when you look at water and sewer payroll, it's split. So basically, if it's $500,000 in payroll, there's 250 on each side. It's just split right down the middle. Because they're all really the same department.
All right. And then lastly, I know how much James hates it when we talk about this, but, you know, I think that meter reader is awesome. I think it does really cool things and that's fantastic. But when we need to come up with 250 grand, that we need to trade from reserves just to come even, and we're looking at $300,000 on something that replaces something that we already have, maybe not as good. And that's just one of those things where I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Not a question, just a statement. Sorry, James. He knew I was going to say it. You've known that for a year. Yeah. Thanks.
Questions? That's the department.
I think Mr. Latham has something to say.
Well, no, I was just gonna comment. You notice that both have green on?
For money?
That means you've got a balanced budget. Yeah, even if you're red.
That's nice.
Okay, you know,
That is nice.
I understand. And
You guys did an amazing job. Thank you so much.
I don't have, but as you say, the question is it a balanced budget? Do we have, I mean, I'd love to say a significant raise, but at least a raise for our employees. And nobody's going to surprise us with a 1.3 this year for a piece of equipment that we just have to have. So if everything's in there,
Yeah, look back there in the corner.
I'm just glancing around the room,
Big
you know,
no, Chief.
but as long as, you know, they have a reasonable request in there, I'm happy. I mean, what I've come up here and talked, of course, 2 and 2 makes 5 with me sometimes, so you can fool me easily. So,
It's new math.
yeah, but I'm happy with it myself. So I guess, I seek a motion.
Well, I'll be honest, we have to have the budget in by the December 31st, right? Okay. My first inclination on this is because there seem to be people that have questions, including myself, is we table this, discuss it further at the next Cal. I'm not even opposed to holding a special meeting afterwards to vote on the budget at that time. I think everybody would be comfortable in another month. You know, Tim always brings up points that make you want to look further into things. And, you know, I do need to do more. And I'm not saying 2 weeks won't be enough, but it might not be. And if we don't have to have it before December 31st, you know, I think I like what I see here for the most part. And probably if nobody wants to table it, that's fine. I can probably vote on it next time. But just to give people a little more time to talk to department heads, to ask other questions of other people, look at these items closer. And if I have questions, I can send them to you. I mean, that's my first inclination, is to make a motion to table and further discuss at the Cal next month. But I will do whatever the rest of council wants to do.
What was you gonna say? You had,
Saying December, it has to be passed by December. Is that correct?
oh, yes.
Yeah.
We have to have it passed by next month.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, it's got to be December.
In December or before December?
That's what I was going to clarify, because I know you pulled the,
I believe it was by the end of the December.
that's what I'm thinking.
I think it was the end
I
of
too-
December.
You know, that's kind of what I was getting at when I spoke earlier is, you know, unfortunately, I didn't bring the budget that the mayor had given me that I have had all those questions. So I'm not able to do the breakdown that Tim did with everything that I had questions on. So like I said, yeah, I want to get with each department head. If we're not going to have, you know, a work session where we did like we did last year, and, you know, kind of had where we could pick each other's brains and see where we're going to go, let you do your magic and then bring it to us. If we're not going to do that, I apologize for not having that here tonight to do that. But I'll do that assignment with each department head and I'll probably more than likely come and sit with you for a little bit and get some more clarification
Overall,
on
as far
numbers.
as payroll, it does include up to a 4% increase.
Yeah.
I think we're looking at a 2% and an extra 2% standard, whatever you want to call it, cost of living, plus give the department heads the extra 2% to distribute how they want it.
Merit, yeah, based off
That's
merit.
all included in this, you know, and all the stuff I've talked about. But yeah,
But
great department heads, talk to them and they can answer your.
to Mike's
specific
point, you
questions.
know, if he's if a table is more better, I'm okay with tabling as well, and then bringing this before us later.
And I'd like the idea of that, so we can look at it further. I think it's a best practice for us to sit down with each other, even if we don't change anything, especially for new council members. This is the fourth time that I've been part of the budget, and it certainly isn't fun. But this year, I mean, it's been fun. This year's been good. But I think just for all of us to line up, our brains would be beneficial. Sorry, Larry. I know how much you love those. You don't have to come.
Probably won't. So,
with that, I'll make a motion to table to the next cow.
I'll second.
roll call.
Hang on. Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Larry,
No.
Amber? Yes. Daniel,
Yes.
Misty?
No,
Tables. The next cow.
Next, we have a discussion of a 2023 employee bonus, and that would be our mayor.
All right. Each year, we have graciously given a bonus to our employees. I would like to do the same this year, a bonus of $1,000 for the 45 full-time employees that have worked a full year at the city, and prorate the 8 employees that have worked under a year. I think that it would be a great boost for them to be able to do that, for us to continue to give them something to say that we appreciate you, because they have worked hard this year. And I think that we should be able to give them something to let them know that we appreciate them. And we do have it in the budget.
Comments from citizens? For the, talking about the budget and the bonus? Okay. All right, questions, council? Yeah,
Yep. I'm a broken record. You know what I'm going to say before I even say
I
it.
do.
I love our people. I love giving them that money. I'd love to give them an extra $1,000. I just do not like the idea of doing it in the form of a bonus at the end of the year. Rather, we put it into their paychecks. But again, I trust y'all, and we can get along, I think, either way.
Anybody to the left?
I think it's important to say thank you to our employees, and it's in the budget, and we've already planned for it, and I think we have a wonderful group here at the city, so.
And my only thing is you put it in a weekly check, which I understand completely too, and it's gone. But if you write a bonus check, even with taxes taken out or whatever the case may be, it's a little something that you can spend at Christmas time. If,
Then I'll propose a $5,000 raise to everybody.
okay, you can propose it.
Talk about it. In the
Okay, any more? Say? I guess I'm waiting on a motion.
I'll make a motion to move it to council.
Roll call.
Mike,
Oh, the bonus to city council? Okay, yes.
Tim,
Let's move it.
Larry,
Yes.
Amber? Yes. Daniel,
Yes.
Misty?
Yes.
All right, next, we have comments, and I believe that we have somebody online that would like to make a comment, because I failed to ask about online people, so feel free. I'm sorry, I apologize for not.
Mark, can you hear us? Mark, can you hear us? We can see you. We're not getting any sound from you.
Is there a number he can call?
Yeah, I mentioned he could call maybe Kenneth.
Okay, good deal. Sorry about that, guys. I appreciate you allowing me to take a call. I was on hold earlier. And there's just two things, and I'll be real brief and real quick. There's two meetings that are going to go on that I think are very important that I wanted to get out to our citizens and to city council as well as members of the city. The first one is the Boston Mountain Solid Waste District meeting, which is this Thursday, November 9th at 1:30. And it's actually pretty convenient because it's in Tontitown at City Hall. So I saw the agenda and they have a introduction of new environmental enforcement officers. So I think this is a good thing because we're not really seeing any help from ADEQ. And so I was just I'm planning on being there because I want to know about the job description, what the job duties are, and how many officers they're going to employ, with respect to environmental enforcement. So that's the first meeting. The second meeting is a big meeting, which is in December 1st. It's at the ADEQ office in North Little Rock, which is 5301 North Shore Drive. The big meeting is it's the pollution control and ecology vote on class 4, which is the construction landfill. And for some of you that don't know, pollution control and ecology is under the Arkansas Department of Energy along with ADEQ. So they're the pollution control and ecology, they're the ones that write the regulation. You've heard of like Regulation 22. So they're the ones that write it, and then ADEQ is supposed to enforce it. So the ecology vote is with the Pollution Control Commission. And I believe there's 7 or 8 of those, but there's a couple that aren't able to vote. And they've seen and heard, all our different issues that we've had, with the debris, the trash on the roads, neighbors' yards, fires, the red dye test that flowed into the Wildcat Creek that flows into the Illinois River. And they've seen over 300 complaints on air quality, gases, and odors. So I think they know that we have an issue here. So hopefully, they'll vote in our favor. So now the Tontitown's environmental lawyer, which is Mr. Nolan, he has seen where you have a bunch of people at the meeting, it influences their vote. So I'm hoping that we have a good crowd that goes down there on Friday, December 1st, and it's at 10 a.m. It only lasts about an hour. And what we do is my wife and I, we typically go down and back in the same day. So I just wanted to pass that on. If any of you can make it or any of our legislators, specifically representatives could be there as well, it'd be great. But I think if we have a good showing, it may make a difference. And the way I look at it is I want to do everything that we can to possibly overturn a potential expansion. And then the other thing is, hopefully at these 2 meetings, we can discuss about an end date because it needs to happen. We've had the landfill here for over 40 years. You guys know all this, so I'm just kind of rambling. I said I was going to be brief, but I wanted to make sure that this group and others know about these 2 meetings because I think they're important. And I think if we show a good support that we don't want this, along with the 1,400 people that signed the petition, along with the resolutions that were made, I don't see why this should pass and be expanded. So appreciate your time. Thank you. I don't know if you're hearing an echo, but I have an echo on my end. Sorry. Thank you for your time here.
Thank you, Mr. Kalkagni.
Was there anybody else? Was Mark the only one? Okay. Now, I guess I will accept council comments. Daniel.
Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody for coming out here, from franchise tax to bond refinancing, to budget talk. It's exciting stuff. And like I said, I'm going to do my due diligence and get with our lead guys out in the field that we need to talk about these issues on the budget and get this thing wrangled in before the December deadline. And I want to also thank the folks that spoke. Rhonda, thank you. And then also Mr. Mark Calcagney, thank you for giving us those dates and times. I will do my best to be at those meetings and give you all my support. That's about it.
Misty.
Thank you for everyone that helped with Halloween. It definitely takes a village, and we had an amazing turnout. I'd also like to thank everyone that came out to the Polenta Smear on Sunday. We had over 200 people. It was a great community event, and we're so thankful for all of our sponsors, all the local restaurants that partner with us to make that happen. Thank you to Larry and Angie for coming. I just want to say thank you to all the department heads. I've already met with all of you numerous times, and I'm just so thankful for all your hard work that you put in on this budget this year. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Amber.
No comments tonight.
Mike.
Yeah, I want to just echo those thanking people for the Halloween in the park. It was quite a turnout. And Rhonda, you took some of my thunder. I was going to vote for Larry as best costume because he fooled you and you didn't know who he was. Legitimately, I thought you were kidding around that you didn't know who he was, but you really didn't know who he was. So Larry, best costume. Thank you for everybody for working on the budget. I don't particularly like tabling things. Yeah. I don't particularly like tabling things because, it may give the impression that I'm not prepared, and maybe I wasn't as prepared as I should be for this, but I like what I see from the numbers, but thank you all for the work that you've put into it so far to make it easier for us. Obviously, holidays coming up. Think about your family, especially in this world with some of the stuff that's going on. Cherish the time you got to spend with them. And I may not be at the next meeting. I may have to attend by Zoom. Thank you.
There he is. There's the mystery man.
That's awesome.
Tim.
Kudos, franchise fees. That's so awesome. I'm so excited about that. The budget, what you guys have done with the budget this year is, again, it's just exemplary. Thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it. I'm excited to see this fire station open. When's that happen? Ish. Before Thanksgiving, after Thanksgiving? Awesome. I'll take it. I'll take it. And then thank you to Mrs. Dowd. Now, not only do I appreciate the work that you put in, but you came up here and you were so encouraging to everybody else who put work in. Thank you for that. That's really awesome.
Takes a village.
And indeed, it must. Mr. Levitt, thank you for your comments. Sorry that you didn't get the answer you wanted there. And Mr. Calcagney, thank you for your words. And then thanks to Megan and Nina. Appreciate you guys being here tonight as well.
All right, I guess it comes to me. The banner there, talked about all the sponsors and all the people. The whole dadgum city gets so involved with that, and I appreciate it. But I really need to say a thank you to Rinaldi Farms. They supplied the pumpkins, and I can't say enough about what they did. They didn't question it. They said if it's for Tontitown, I'm going to do it. So I appreciate them greatly. And guys, like I say, appreciate everything you do. The budget. I'm not near as smart as some of these guys up here. I've said it before and I'll say it again, but it passed my smell test. So thank you. Mayor.
All right. Again, I know we're talking a lot about the Halloween in the park, and you guys, I know that you guys that aren't able to see, we have pictures going of the Halloween in the park, and it's really funny, especially whenever Billy Ray Cyrus and 17-year-old
Mystery man.
Mystery Man I was up there. Anyway, I'd like to thank everyone that participated in Halloween in the Park also. It was a huge success. You know, we not only were able to serve the citizens here in Tontitown, we were able to serve the surrounding citizens that are all around us that brought their children up here. And if their children are up here in the park and we're serving them, they're not out doing things that they shouldn't be doing. That's true. The Plentzmere was Sunday. It was fantastic. There was lots of people and lots of fantastic food. I would like to thank Mark Latham and Pat Penalto for the work that they've done in preparing this budget and making it go so smoothly this year. Mr. Burris, listen up. You're going to like this. A side note. Mr. Penalto, being the banker that he is, proactively looked into rates at multiple banks and found some really good interest rates at the beginning of the year this year. We discussed this and he moved money around. I think I mentioned that earlier on this year. But by doing so, as of this month, get your pen ready. Mr. Penalto has made the city $280,000, $280,042.85 on one account, $137,760.93 on another account, for a total of $417,803.78. We need to give Mr. Penalto a big pat on the back and a thank you.
Pat for Pat.
A pat for Pat. And as Mr. Calcagney said, the update on waste management, the last ruling that's going to go through the pollution control and ecology meeting will be on December 1st in Little Rock. It is very important that there be a lot of local citizens there at that ruling. If you are available, please attend. If you need to get additional information, you can contact the city and I'll be glad to give you additional information. Also, Boston Mountain's meeting is going to be here at City Hall this Thursday at 1:30. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you.
All right, I'm assuming Mr. Eichmann is not online to give us a closing. All right. I ask for an adjournment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Hey, how'd you get Boston Mountain to come up here?
Actually, they were asking, they didn't, they had this point in spring that they.
Oh, okay.
It's like, I said 2 weeks before the party, so I don't know what happened.